Good morning. No, I'm not fighting with everything I got, but I think we have to start from the beginning. I think from the moment they come together with the agents, it was the idea to get a better regulation around the football agent. I think all agents who are working there, they agree on this. But at the end, it was more a media show that they could say that they spoke to the agents instead of working together with the agent to get the right regulations. And the most important thing at that time was it was a job which everybody can do, and everybody wants to get it back to get first a license, like a head coach has a license, and everybody has a license of working in football. If you have the job to get your players from young age to become a better player, you need some knowledge. And it was good that the knowledge came back. So that was basically the idea of working together to get the new regulations. But at the end, it all changed. And I think for now, yes, a lot of things will happen because the thing they are put now the regulations on paper and force everybody, especially on the federation.
I mean, Guido, FIFA say though that they engaged with all agents about the regulations. That you guys knew this was coming down the pipe.
No, it was like a media show. You never spoke to the stakeholders. There were some groups and they were talking so that they could say at the end, we spoke to the agents, but that was not how it went. It went like we spoke to each other. They were like the stakeholders who had to make the decisions. They were not there. So all the people who were there were just sent by the FIFA to speak to the agents so they could say at the end, we spoke to the agents, but there was at that time, all arguments we had were not, nobody listened to that.
So Simon's with me. Simon, Guido and others feel that FIFA have bulldozed this through.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's no secret in this. This has been talked about for 18 months. They were talking precisely and concisely about doing these things 18 months ago. And I saw Mel Steen and his little gang talking about the reality of what they were going to do to push back it at the time when Mel was here. Now, I look at it from both sides of the argument. I don't think that FIFA need to talk to the agents. I don't think the agents are stakeholders. I think they're the beneficiaries of being in an industry that they profit from. But I can also understand their argument to some extent because the way that the world has changed with football, the biggest culprits are bad agents, but also the biggest culprits are players who don't want to pay their agents. So players want to have agents go in there, negotiate deals for them and get football clubs to pay their fees, which is always an anomaly that I can't square a circle of. But the way that the agents world has changed, first of all, players can only be signed to 2-year contracts. Second of all, the advent of agents now are being forced into situations where they're having to pay players up front to come and join their agency and then recoup their fees out of players' earnings over a period of time.
Is that true, Guido? Do you pay players to join your agency?
I never did it.
But it is going on.
But I know a lot of agents or companies are doing this.
Well, they've been put in that position, aren't they, Guido? I think Dele Alli was one of the players that we could talk about that had that particular benefit. But the bottom line is that the biggest problem is that the overseas agents are getting paid more money than the British agents, so they're going to be the ones that are going to be the most vociferous about the changes here. We aren't talking about sending people to the poorhouse. We're talking about the average Premier League footballer, which most of the top agents represent, was on £70,000, £100,000 a week. We're still talking about agents getting somewhere between 150 and £250,000 a year out of each player transaction that goes on. If the agents are talking about their concern for their brethren further down the food chain, well, go away and grow up, because you nick most of those players anyway from the smaller agencies anyway when you get an opportunity to. I think that FIFA is the governing body, and it's their gift to turn around to the agency community and say, these are the governance that we're going to put in place. We don't need you at the table. We don't need to have a discussion with you. If you believe you've got a legal case, go fill your boots and see if you can get us on restriction of trade. And I bet they can't.
Guido, do you think you'll win this in court? Can the agents win this in court?
It's all about the big picture. And of course, if you see, for example, if you look in Holland, the local rules are not allowing us to get money from the players. So if the FIFA is talking about 3+3, so 3% from the club, 3% from the player, it's not possible in Holland because the rules are not allowed to do this. So if you are an agent in Holland, the FIFA can say to you, you can get 6%, but it's not true because you only can get 3%. So that's already an issue. If you go to France, the local rules in France are above the football rules. So if you want to be an agent in France, the FIFA is saying you get the license, you can work everywhere. No, it's not true, because you can't work in France.
But the individual federations, Guido, are accountable to FIFA. FIFA have abdicated responsibility over the years because it's been too much of a hot potato to deal with. The ridiculousness of duality and triality were complete and utter conflicts of interest. I understand the argument that if you've got duality, i.e. you represent the buying club or the selling club and the player, it means there's only one agent in the room. Then you get the argument about if the player doesn't get quite the deal that he wants, the player says, you're not representing me properly, you're representing the club. If the player gets a deal he wants, the club turns around and says, you're not favouring me in the equation, you're favouring the player. This ridiculousness of the more money that came into football, the less regulation there was on agents is preposterous. I like the idea, and I think you do too, and the top agents of which you are one, like the idea of more governance and transparency around who can become agents, right?
Yes.
Because it means that you just can't get anyone on the back of a fag packet rocking up and saying I'm intermediary, and you don't get bags like Saif Rubie popping up left, right and centre. You get proper people in the industry.
It's right, because you need knowledge to nurture a player from a 16-year-old boy to a first-team squad.
And so having tests as part of the criteria, I think will be a good thing, and it will eliminate some of the people that shouldn't be there. And I'm also in your camp to a little bit, which will surprise people, that I'm a capitalist. So with capitalism in mind, it almost feels a little bit restrictive that people are going to be capped at what they can earn. But I go back to the argument. But if we had the players paying you guys, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah, but look to my situation. I have a player. So we have the country. I have a player at Ajax. I'm working with him already from his 16-year-old age. I'm working every year, 2 years. You have to prove yourself that you can continue with the player, because that's the term of the contract. Then the player is nurturing well. He's playing well. You can sell him to another club everywhere in the world. And then if the club puts an agent, because you're not allowed anymore to be the selling agent. So if the club puts a club agent there to sell your player, for example, to, I don't know,
well, you guys can build in legacy payments, like compensation for mechanisms, in the same way that football clubs get educational compensation for players when they're transferred on, when they were young players that were developed. I'm sure it's not beyond a wit of man for the agency world to put up some sort of mechanism that enables them to continue to get returns on players that they develop that other agencies have pinched.
Guido, we are running out of time, but I'll put this to you. Don't you think it's going to be hard for the agents to get any kind of sympathy here when you hear this? Clubs spent $5.5 billion on transfers in 2019. The agent's share of that was £550 million.
True, but it's because there are too many agents. So that's why the XM is perfect. So bring it back to a lower...
Yeah, but what that means is, by your logic, less agents are going to get more money. We're not going to shrink the market, are we? We want to shrink the market. We want to stop the money going out into your pockets and shrink the market.
True, but because there are so many agents they have to deal with, so if they put anywhere any regulations on everything, it's market value. I never put something on the head of a board director to pay them that money. The club is paying this, so it's not. I'm not paying this. They are paying this. So the thing now is, if the club, for example, in my example, is giving the club agent 10% by selling your player, and you get 3% at your new club, that's not fair.
But you can still get 10% of transfer fees, and that's how they'll do it. The clubs, if they want to keep you in the game and keep you on side, all they'll do is they'll say you've done the transfer, and you'll get 10% of the transfer fee.
But that's not possible anymore in the new regulations, so they have to pay you under the table. So I think...
Well, no, you can get 10% of a transfer fee, can't you?
Sorry?
You can get 10% of a transfer fee.
No, but it's not possible anymore.
Well, it says it is.
No, it's not true, because you want to keep working for your player. So you go.
Oh yes, you're gonna have to rescind your contract with a player to get the 10% transfer. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Guido, we appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much. Guido Albers, one of the top agents, but of course not happy about what FIFA are doing. So for the good of football, who needs to win in this next upcoming legal battle on the horizon?
Maybe they should go on strike.
FIFA,
agents on strike,
or the agents.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.